Hello, Jonathan here. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. If you've come back from watching videos before, I really appreciate it. And what we do in these videos is I kind of walk you through their sort of drawing exercises, their projects, their ways to just sort of try to find remind ourselves of the playfulness of drawing and the importance of drawing, and not worrying as much about having the drawing be perfect. And this sort of teaches us about the creative practice and like sort of the process of being an artist. And we start every exercise or video. Does anyone remember? Yep. We are going to do a worry release exercise. And so what we're going to do is you need something to write on. You can use paper that you've torn up. You could use napkins. I use these sticky notes. And what I want us to do is we're going to take a deep breath, which is always good for me to do. I feel like I'm always nervous starting these out, and this helps ground me a little bit. And so what I want you to do is I want you to think about today. I want you to think about the last couple days. What's something that's been worrying you? And what's a thought that you've kind of been carrying with you? And once you have that, I want you to go ahead and write it down. All right. And once you have it written down, you can choose to share it. Again, sharing is another really easy way to help sort of relieve the tension of our worries. And maybe sometimes just having someone listen to us is really, really helpful and makes us worry less. Or you can fold it up. You can decide to throw it away. You can keep it to think about it some more. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it up, and I have this worry envelope, which I'm sure that everyone has seen previous videos will recognize, and it's starting to fill up. I put my worries that I've written down in here, and it kind of helps me be like, I'm going to set it aside. I'm not going to think about it for a little bit. And after all of our videos, I'm going to open them up. I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to look at all my worries, and I'm going to see which ones I'm still worrying about and which ones I've kind of forgotten about and stuff. So I'm excited for that. It'll be interesting to see what happens. So anyhow, so for our project today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing what's called a journal comic. Does anyone know what a journal comic is? I mean, yeah, you're right. It is kind of obvious, right? It's like a journal, but you draw it in comic form, all right? What about, I guess the question I'll ask now, does anyone keep a journal? I am kind of so-so about mine. I used to keep, I think I've gone off and on with being good about keeping it. I haven't lately, or the last couple of years, I haven't really kept one. But so the journal can take lots of forms. It could be like a diary where you write something down. Hi, dear diary, today I did this, blah, 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 blah. Or it can just be bullet points. That's how I used to do mine, is just write down the things that I did in the day. And what's the purpose of kind of keeping a journal, you think? Yeah, it helps you remember what you did. And why would we want to do that? Yeah, because I think why I enjoyed keeping a journal is it helped me reflect on sort of where I've come, what I've done. I can look back on times of my life, and it's helpful for me to be like, kind of like the worries, like, oh, I'm not going through that anymore. Or like, oh, that was a really good time. Or like, that made me really happy. And as an artist, it helps just sort of like track the narrative of my days and my weeks and my years and things like that. And journals can take on, many forms. Like we said, I keep a sketchbook too, or sketchbooks. I just pulled out some from my other room. And what's really good about like keeping sketchbooks are another way of keeping a journal. These are some weird drawings. But what's nice is if I draw in them, if I just keep drawing in them and filling them up, in a way, it's kind of like a journal when you're like, Dear Diary. It's a way to see how far you've come. Like if you're, let's say you're 12 now and you keep a sketchbook and you draw in it. You don't even have to draw in it every day. You just draw in it once a week or something. Put all your drawings that you do in it. And then it would be interesting. Say you keep drawing, and no matter what you do. Say you go through high school, and at the end of high school, you look back at the journal you made when you were 12. If you kept drawing, you're going to be a lot better. No matter what, like I guarantee you, if you draw, like drawing, that's the nice thing about drawing. The more you do it, the better you get at it. And so sketchbooks are a way that it's kind of like a journal in that it kind of tracks your growth. And that's really good to see, to feel, because a lot of times we want to be good at something right away. All right. But that's really not what happens. It takes a very long time. It's a very, very, very slow curve. All right. Sorry, I kind of lost my thought, but so that's why it's nice to keep a journal. And so we're going to keep a journal comic like you said earlier. It's kind of obvious. It's a journal that you keep in comic form. And I want to kind of tie that into another thing. Has anyone seen this book? This isn't my book, obviously. I wish it was my book. By Smile by Raina Telgemeier. So this is a book about her getting into an accident when she was in middle school and needing to get braces. All right. And it's probably one of like the best-selling books of all time. And a lot of her comics are sort of like memoir comics. And I think, I remember hearing her talk once about how she would keep journal comics and record the stuff that happened to her. And when she went to go do these books years later, she could use that to remember exactly what happened, what were those stories. And so we're going to do a journal comic for today. If you want to do it in a sketchbook, if you have a sketchbook or a notebook that you want to start keeping journal comics, I think that's great because they really work better when you keep them over a long period of time. Like doing one journal comic today, I mean, it'll still be a fun exercise, but it's not going to get the whole bang of like keeping a journal or making journal comics. But sometimes you just have a day and you just have an experience and you just need to get it out. All right. And that's okay too. So, but what I want us to do is I want us to think about what happened to us yesterday. And think about the whole thing. And when you think about yesterday, what's the first thing that jumps out at you? And let's go ahead and, try to write down some things that you did. And don't worry if they're right, if they're the right thing. They don't have to be something fancy. That's what's nice about journal comics is sometimes our day-to-day is it's boring, but the whole point of the exercise is our days aren't really boring. I think when we stop and think about them, like there are things that we'd enjoyed, there are things that made us sad, and what is it we want to capture about that day? What do we want to pull from that day to remember? Sorry, sometimes I forget when I'm writing that I should be saying it out loud since you can't read it. So I'm going to try to come. So I wrote, I watched basketball. My cat sat on my lap for a real long time in a real cuddly way that she's never really done before, and that made me really happy. A friend came to visit, so I'm recording these videos. We're still doing quarantine, but we're trying to be careful, and I don't really leave the house, and I don't see my friends anymore, but a friend had borrowed something and came to return, and so we sat in my driveway 6 feet apart with our masks on, and it was really good to see her and really good to talk to her, and I forget how much I miss that. What else? Oh, we were supposed to cook a fancy dinner, and then we just had nachos instead, nachos for dinner. And then the last thing I'm going to say is I put off doing work. Because I was just having a weird day where I was just in a funk and I just couldn't think of anything. So, You can write a list. You can write as small a list or as big a list as you want, even if you just have one thing to focus on. That's okay. But what we're gonna do is, if you want, so I wrote down 5 things: watch basketball, sunshine on my lap, visited friend, nachos for dinner, put off doing work. Comics can be, we can choose how we want to do them. If you just have one, like say I just wanted to focus on one of these, this is just a little sketch. I could do just one panel and then I could write underneath it, or I could write it in a like a caption box or something. You can really do it however you feel like doing it. But say let's put off, I'm gonna get rid of the sunshine on my lap. If I wanted to, I could make this a 4-panel comic, and I could turn each of these into a thing. I could say, I'd want to put them in order. I could say, I put off doing work. I'll do them in chronological order. Put off doing work. I visited my friend Lisa, or my friend Lisa came to visit me. We had nachos for dinner and we watched basketball. And then I could come up with what's an image that sums that up. And I could I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. I mean, you can if you want, but to me, it's just sort of really to try to get the idea out really fast. But just to keep it simpler, and for this video, is I'm just going to do a 1-panel one. And the thing, so I'm going to make a box. A panel is a box. And I'm just going to write down my memories. Like, what's the thing that stood out the most about these things? I think to me it was my friend Lisa coming to visit. So I'm just gonna write down Lisa came by to visit today, and it was really great to see her in person. All right. So I just did that underneath, and then I'm just going to do a quick sketch of what I remember. And so I'm going to draw this is the patio to my house, or whatever. Not patio, it's the front. I'm going to draw. Let's get nervous having to draw. Wow, maybe this isn't the best, but I'm just doing it kind of quickly. I'm going to make sure I get our masks. We'll see. I'm just doing this quick for you, for this exercise. I'll show you in a second. Sorry, I know and you can draw with whatever you want. I forgot to talk about supplies, obviously. I'm just using pen and paper. All of these projects, I should have said that at the very beginning. I'm sorry. All of these projects are pretty low key like that. So, I mean, this is kind of, it's kind of quick, but you can see it's just like, we were just in my driveway. This is sort of like the front awning or whatever, and then it's the street. But again, I like to keep my journal comics loose and not worry about them being too precious. I don't want to spend so much time on them. I just want to get the idea down. And so again, you can kind of approach it however you want, but remember, maybe try doing it. If you can't, try maybe just for the week doing it and see how it turns out. See if you like it, see if you can do it. I think it's also good too, because doing journal comics is like, here's 20 minutes, half an hour, maybe an hour, where I'm going to draw something. Sometimes we want to draw and we don't know what to draw. Doing a journal comic is also a nice way to kind of give yourself an excuse to draw every day and to keep practicing. And again, hopefully it's something that you keep doing and it'll build up. And again, if you do it, you can do it in a sketchbook, or if you want to do it on loose sheets of paper, you can do that. and you can just staple them all together or cut them out and put them in a notebook. There's no way it has to look, and I want to emphasize that, all right, is that you can do it however you want to do it. If you don't want to do it in like an image like this, you could just draw things from the day. There's so many ways you can do it. But yeah, hopefully you had fun, and try to do it for a week and see how it turns out. I wish I could see your journal comics and just kind of what's going on. But that's kind of it for today. So next week, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be learning about sort of the process of planning a project or a drawing. And again, instead of I won't talk about it too much because I'll save it for next week. But that's what we're just going to kind of plan and brainstorm and have fun and make up a project that we want to make. So thanks again for everyone that's joining us for the first time, and thanks for those that are coming back. I really appreciate it. I know we're not actually spending time with each other, but making these videos and knowing that some of you are going to watch it, it makes me feel nice, and it kind of makes me feel connected to you even though I don't know you. So, but all right, stay safe, be well, and I'll see you next time. Bye.